Okay, we're going to be getting started in just about 1 minute. For everybody that's on already right now, why don't you go into the chat, and if you're already on our program, why don't you go ahead and write how much weight you've lost so far, so that everybody can see and we can all cheer you on for how well you're doing. Wow, that is incredible. Oh my gosh, are you guys looking at the chat right now? This is absolutely incredible. Oh my gosh, 103, 37, 60, 145, 36.2, 27. Oh my gosh, these results are absolutely incredible. Okay, let me go ahead and get this started. Here we go. Okay, cool. Are you guys all seeing my screen over here? Yeah, okay, perfect. Awesome. So welcome everybody, by the way, to our last week for Health and Hope. It's been so exciting to have you all here every week. We've all been loving it. And I'm really excited for tonight's topic. I'm a little bit sad that this is our last Health and Hope meeting for the season, but tonight is gonna be a good one. Just a little bit about me before we get started, just so that for all those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Eli Kahan. I lost 60 pounds and it's been it'll be 3 years very soon. And looking at this picture, I just realized that I actually forgot I wanted to edit it before we got started. But I wanted to edit it just a little bit because I'm not one of those cases of someone that's been overweight my entire life. And so what I meant to do was I actually meant to throw in another before photo back of me in high school when I was on the wrestling team. And literally you can see in pictures, you see muscles just popping out of every part of my body. And so I'm not one of those cases of people that has been overweight my entire life, which a lot of times we do see. But as you can see, after high school, things did kind of go south for me, clearly. Nutrition was not something I knew about at all. In my head, health was equated with going to the gym, working out, exercising. Eating right was in its own category and had no place in my life back until up until I started this program. And then just to make a long story short, to be honest, what happened for me was I had been trying to lose weight for a while, because where you see me in that first picture, I was at 220 pounds. And I had been trying to lose weight for a while at that point, unsuccessfully so. And my wife, who unlike me is one of those people that has been on diets her entire life. I think her parents had her on Weight Watchers at maybe as early as age 6. One day she came home and she was like, hey, I spoke to this girl on Facebook and she's gonna be my health coach and I'm gonna lose weight with her and it's gonna be cool. And I was like, you do you, don't get me involved, just do your thing. I'll sit on the side and you have a good time. And she was like, yeah, no, for sure. She's like, I'm gonna do it for 1 month. And if I lose 10 pounds, I'm gonna keep going. And lo and behold, she weighed herself at the end of that month and she had lost exactly 10 pounds. So a couple months later, she was down 60 pounds. And I was like, okay, let me give it a shot. Maybe it'll work for me too. And now it's been almost 3 years since then. So that's just a little bit about me. But here is, for what we're going to be talking about today, this topic is near and dear to my heart. Previously, on one of these weeks, we've talked about the dangers of obesity in adults. But one thing that many people fail to consider is how our own personal obesity numbers are affecting our children. So if you won't do it for yourself, can I ask you to please consider doing it for them? Here's some childhood obesity stats. 1 in every 3 children, according to studies, are obese. And one of the big reasons that we're seeing is that children are eating many, many fast food meals nowadays. This has obviously led to an increase in health costs, within our system. And a really crazy stat, or really just fact, is that the car seat industry had to make a bigger car seat size for those larger and heavier children. Studies are showing that nowadays average kids only eat around 50% of the recommended portions of vegetables, which obviously leads to snack sizes doubling, because instead of eating those low caloric snacks with the veggies and filling up that way, they're eating these high calorie snacks that aren't filling, and now they're doubling over on all their other food. 33% of kids watch 3 or more hours of TV a day. I'm still working on that one with my kids. It's the tough one, especially considering everything that we've gone through this year. And this is the stat that kind of really kicked me into gear when I first started losing weight. And when my wife and I decided to go ahead and do this program, it was right around when I started, right when our son, our first kid, was turning 1 year old and he was starting to walk. And studies show that kids that have obese parents have an 85% chance of becoming obese themselves. And that was something that really just hit me hard. So what are some of the things that obesity can do to our children? So firstly, one thing that obesity causes in kids is it causes brain swelling, which actually can lead to frequent headaches, and some studies even show possibly a lower IQ. The lungs are impacted and a child can feel out of breath just from standing in place. And they're also 2 to 5 times more likely to develop sleep apnea as children. 1 out of 3 of obese, 1/3 of obese children have fatty liver disease, which causes chronic stomach aches, prone to infection, and also fatigue. Obese children are 2 to 3 times more likely to develop high blood pressure and high cholesterol, which puts them at risk for heart attack as early as ages in their 20s. It also causes hormonal issues, which can stop them from actually reaching their full potential height. And similarly, in girls, it can actually put them at risk for developing PCOS. And excessive weight can also certainly lead to issues in their legs. So you as the parent, you have to realize that we're not just choosing health just for us, but it's really the fact that we have an impact on everyone around us, especially including our children. I mean, we all know that. I don't have to tell you guys this. I mean, children are sponges, right? The whole game is monkey see, monkey do. Like, I can tell monkey what to do from today till tomorrow. They're not going to listen to me. But if they see me doing it, then they're going to go ahead and do it themselves. So what are some tips? How can you go ahead and start setting a good example for your kids, and also at the same time improving your health? So firstly, you can start to swap out some of the bad stuff for some of the good stuff, right? Keep an open mind and start to pay attention to everything you do. And every time you see something that is not a habit of health, try and swap it out for something healthy. So for instance, you can do things like starting to swap out sodas, which are terrible for you, for maybe something like seltzer, or instead of frying your proteins, you can go ahead and start to grill them. Prepare in advance. Try having cut up vegetables and fruits in the house so that when your kids come home from school or from wherever they were at, they don't have to go ahead and start grabbing chips and cookies. That's actually something that we started doing. I think it was maybe 6-7 months ago. My wife saw a post on, I don't know if it was Instagram or Pinterest, but it was somebody giving an example. What they did was they actually cut up tons of vegetables and they put them in containers on the lower levels of their shelves in the refrigerator so that the kids could open them and have easier access to them. Movement. Take a walk, play ball, go swimming, try to get some easy exercise in for you. You don't have to go to the gym and kill yourself for 45 minutes, but just get outdoors, move around, show your kids that, those are things that are important to you. And similarly, take them with you, show them that it's important to you and that you're going to have a good time together with them. And then focus on the right things. Be careful with how you speak about health. Remember that the goal is not to be skinny, and we're not focusing on the restrictions. You're focusing on the choices you make. Like we said before, kids are sponges. They soak up everything we say. If they see you looking in the mirror and talking negatively about yourself, that's going to translate to how they speak about themselves as well. And this is a huge one. Remember, do not use food as a treat or reward with your children. I think that's something that's really common because it's been common for years and years. I remember growing up that way, and it's something that I have to consciously watch myself not to do. You know how many parents out there tell their kids that if they eat their vegetables, they'll give them candy after dinner? It doesn't make any sense. And the only reason they're eating the vegetables is to get to the candy, and then they grow up thinking that the best thing in the world is the candy, and I just had to eat the vegetables as a means to get there. Okay, so now we are going to have Gitti come off and share her story. Her story is absolutely incredible, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it.
Okay, hello. I do have a baby in my lap and he is eating, so if you hear noises, that's what that is, but let's do it. So, hi everyone, my name is Gitti. I'm absolutely very excited to be able to get to share my story tonight, and my wish is that maybe some of you can relate to some parts of that and realize that there is hope even in the darkest situations. So, I think I would have to start back in high school when anyone in all my all girls private school could talk about was that 4-letter word. Maybe you know it. Diet. D-I-E-T. I began to think that there was something wrong with me for not being on a diet, even though I wasn't overweight. And I think that's when dieting became something I aspired to do just because the cool kids were doing it. At this point, my Hashimoto's and my hypothyroidism, which are both autoimmune diseases, were starting to really flare up, and I was exhausted. I was living with unexplained brain fog, and I was drinking soda and coffee to try to stay awake all the time. And just to make it through midterms and finals and all of that stuff. And so I was also at the same time, I was being very badly bullied by peers and by the administration of my school, which wasn't very fun. And that meant that I was always on high alert, and I suddenly found myself stress eating, which meant I was, eating without realizing it. And if my parents were arguing, I would turn to the chocolate stash hidden under my bed. If there was trouble with money, I'd spend my babysitting money at the local fast food restaurant and buy burgers. Problems in school, I ate candy to make myself feel better. My friends even nicknamed me after my favorite candy, which was Twerps. And at the end of 11th grade, I met Isaac, who's now my husband. And when we got engaged, I was really excited, but I was really nervous too, because we came from two completely different backgrounds, and the wedding his family planned and expected was really expensive for mine. So although I loved my wedding and look back at the memories fondly, it really stressed me out, not like to no end, not knowing if my father could really afford what he was paying for. And so I turned to food all over again. And I bought Chinese food every single night for dinner, giving myself a gallbladder attack, actually, because I was eating so much oily, greasy food. And looking back at that, I realized that I'm lucky I even fit into my wedding gown. But I do not look back at those wedding photos fondly because I truly don't recognize my face in them. Anyways, my eating habits continued to be similar as I adjusted to married life. And at 18 years old, just after getting married, I had another massive gallbladder attack, and which ended in major surgery, and they removed my gallbladder. And I continued to struggle with my hypothyroidism. I ate rather unhealthfully through my first and second pregnancies of my children being born in 2010 and 2015 and all the time in between, not really realizing that it was just making me feel worse. So I did exercise programs, I did juicing diets and everything in between, everything I could, and I just could not get off that yo-yo train. I don't know if you can relate to that yo-yo train, but that is not fun. I would lose weight, I would gain it back, and then I would do it all over again. And let me tell you, it was downright frustrating and disheartening. And at this point, I had all but given up at like losing the same 35 pounds over and over again. And then in 2017, unfortunately, I hit all rock bottom when I lost my brother. He was 24 years old. I suddenly lost him, and he was my best friend, and that loss completely destroyed me. I promised myself I wasn't going to cry, so I'm going to try not to. And during that mourning period, I watched my sister. I was staying over at her house, and I watched her do this program. And when people asked her, like, oh, what do you want us to send for you? Like, we're going to send you some food. She'd ask for grilled chicken salads. And I was like, what? And she stuck to her plan, even though all that we were going through, like even through it all. And she had already taken off a good amount of weight. I saw that my brother-in-law had done the same. And I realized I was like, I got to do something. I was really blown away. And that's when I kind of had a come to moment. And I realized that if life could be so short, then I better take control of mine. And so I decided I was going to do this plan. And I not only decided to do the plan, I decided I was going to do it, but not as a diet, that I was never going to diet again, that I was going to get healthy for the last time and keep it that way. When I left my sister's house, I actually had already done a consult with her and to just get me started. And when I got home, that is exactly what I did. When I asked Isaac if I should do it, his first response was like, yes. He was my greatest supporter. And my kids have been cheering me on since the beginning too. They love having a healthy mom a whole lot. And I lost that 35 pounds very quickly. It took me about 2.5, 3 months, I would say. And I became a coach pretty quick soon after as well, because people were asking me what I was doing. So that was exciting. And I have kept that weight off for close to 3 years. And then in late 2019, I got pregnant with this little guy who's sitting in my lap, Noah, and he was born 9 weeks ago. And I had the healthiest pregnancy. My doctors were amazed with how I stayed a healthy weight throughout. And let me tell you, it wasn't an easy pregnancy. I had a really difficult pregnancy with COVID and everything, but also I had partial placenta previa, which led to almost to the last minute them not being sure if I was going to have a C-section, which let me tell you was extremely stressful. So I could have easily turned back to my old stress eating habits, but I did not, because why? I had my healthy habits in place. I had my community to keep me inspired. I had my coaches cheering me on still through the whole thing. And I have learned some really great stuff throughout my whole time of being on the plan. So now I have about 14 pounds left to lose postpartum, which is very exciting. I've been using our plan to do it. I've already lost about 7 pounds, which is great. And I'm very excited about that. And I know that my brother is looking down on me, super proud of me, and just, for taking control once and for all. And you know how earlier I mentioned that I aspired to diet like all the cool kids? So nowadays, as a health coach, my friends are mainly health coaches or clients of this program, and now I stay healthy like the cool kids. So if I could give you one thing to take away with you tonight, I would say this: don't wait for some hard life to hit you to make that change. Thanks.
Wow, that was incredible. And I love that you have so little weight to lose postpartum. When you're the one that had the baby. And in our case, after my first kid, I had 60 pounds to lose postpartum. Nobody really understands what happened there, but that was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay. So there's Iti, and you can see her incredible transformation right there. Now, if you would like to get healthy for you as well as being a good example to those around you, this is what makes our plan incredible. Okay. Our plan is broken up into 4 main components. Like Gitti mentioned before, this is not the time for dieting. Dieting is over. Dieting is what people do when they know they're going to go ahead and have to get started with it again next year. And that's not what we want to do anymore. The 4 things that our program is broken down into is: 1, you get a coach who's probably the person that invited you to this call. And they're the person that's going to help hold you accountable. All studies show that when you're trying to progress in anything, having an accountability partner is going to up your chances in being successful in everything. Now, if you go ahead and you choose your accountability partner as a coach who's already walked the path before you and knows how to guide you on it, you're just looking at being successful. Like, there's no question. Our community, our Facebook group is going to surround you with people who have the same goals as you. Guys, we all know that quote from Jim Rohn, that you are like the people you spend the most time with. You spend time with our community, all you're going to care about is being healthy. You're eventually going to get to the point where you stop caring about those things that are making you unhealthy. Our education, like you can see in the picture over there, our Habits of Health system was written by the doctor that co-founded our program. And we work with you to help you work through all of the things that you really need to work through that have been getting in your way up until now, and to help you create the habits that are going to make this last, so that no, you don't have to go ahead and diet again next year, because it's just not going to be something that you need to do anymore. And nutrition. Our plan focuses on teaching you proper hydration, especially nowadays that it's getting cooler again. Almost everybody's walking around dehydrated. Stabilizing your blood sugar so that you're not developing cravings all day long, and portion control. And no, we do not fit you into a one-size-fits-all plan. We have plans for all different types of people. Just about almost everyone can do our program. We have plans for the whole spectrum. Now, guys, if any of this inspired you, please reach back out to the person that invited you to this call and let them know that you want to schedule a free consult with them so that you can talk more in detail for yourself specifically about what it would look like for you to do this plan. And if you feel like you're not just ready yet to do the call, then go ahead and ask the person that added you to this Zoom to go ahead and add you to our Healthy Facebook group so that you can go ahead and you can get some health tips and you can get healthy recipes and you can go ahead and get started. And then when you're ready to get on the phone with that person, you'll do that. But guys, I also kind of just want to remind you, 2020 is over in 14 weeks from today. Okay, it's going to go ahead and we're going to be at January 1st. And a lot of people we know are going to go ahead and get started on their new diet on January 1st, maybe for the 75th time, who knows. But you can be one of those people in 14 weeks from now that doesn't have to get started on your new diet because you're already on your way to a healthier you and you're already a bunch of the way to your new goal. Now we're going to go ahead and hear from Mitch, who has also an incredible story. I'm really excited for you guys to hear from him. So Mitch, you can unmute yourself.
Thanks, Ellie. I'm super honored and excited to be on and sharing my story tonight. And actually, I think it's kind of funny because you and Gitti both made comments that had throwbacks to high school, and I actually hit my goal this week of being at a healthy BMI and have lost 49 pounds. And this jean jacket that I'm wearing is literally the jean jacket that I wore all through high school, and it fits again. So I'm super stoked about that. And I want to start just by saying that my story is, about hope. It's about a leap of faith. And, it really starts actually with a family vacation that I was on back in June of 2014 with my wife and family in Rick's Cafe in Negril, Jamaica, which is actually one of the top 10 bars in the world. And I jumped from a 35-foot cliff there into the ocean, which I don't recommend doing. And I'm told that I actually have a very high tolerance for pain. It could have also been a lot of the liquid courage that I had at the time there as being one of the top 10 bars in the world. But what I didn't know was that jump actually at the time had fractured my spine, and I had actually herniated the disc between L5 and S1. I had 2 other bulging discs and 3 pinched nerves from that jump that actually, as a side note, I just had spinal fusion surgery for that last April. But backing up to 2014, after that jump in June, I never sought medical attention until December, where I was actually having severe back pain, and I was balled up in the fetal position, and it basically resulted in a visit to the ER. And I'd had a history of kidney stones in the past, so I thought that's what that was again. And my wife, who at the time had a background as a office manager for an orthopedic surgeon, was with me, of course, and she insisted that they do a CAT scan versus just a normal X-ray. And sure enough, the results came back, and they had actually found what they feared to be cancer. And a week later, I was actually diagnosed with a biopsy that confirmed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, non-follicular B-cell lymphoma, which is chronic and means that it's treatable, but it's not curable. So 3 rounds of chemo, and in 2015, and currently I'm in partial remission for 5.5 years later, thankfully. But at the time, that diagnosis hit me like a ton of bricks, and you can see I got a little emotional talking about that. But it was really, really life-changing. And anyone who knows what that's like, who's ever had like a threatening, life-changing diagnosis like that, they know what I'm talking about. But I was actually going through so many emotions. Like, I was depressed, I was angry, I was sad, I was frustrated, confused. Like, I had all of these powerful emotions, and all of my relationships were failing, like every one of them. And ultimately what that diagnosis led to is my wife and I sat down, and she had a very candid conversation with me. And she said, Mitch, life is short and you should be happy. And as part of that conversation, she actually said, you know what? She goes, Mitch, I really think you would be happier with a man. And many, many, many tears, and I think a couple of cases of beers later, I actually was able to acknowledge what she saw, and what I was actually suppressing for a very long time, my whole life, basically, that I was gay. And we actually amicably divorced after that. And she had helped me set up an online dating profile where I actually met my current husband, Andy, and my true soulmate. And we were married in 2016. And if you guys haven't already seen in our community, that's where my hashtag 2healthyguys comes from. So, I was actually finally living my true, authentic self. And I was suddenly and intimately aware of my life expectancy, and not only with my underlying conditions, but also Andy's, because we both had high blood pressure. We both had type 2 diabetes. Andy was actually getting shots on a regular basis in his eye for bleeding blood vessels, which were threatening to cause blindness. We were both on insulin and metformin. We were both not just obese, but morbidly obese. And, both of us had severe unhealthy eating habits. I mean, we were eating whole bags of chips, boxes of cookies, a half gallon of ice cream, pounds of pasta, you name it. It was just terrible eating habits. And we both suffered from extreme fatigue and sluggishness. And then a couple of years ago, Andy actually met and worked with Joelle Norwood, who ultimately ended up inspiring us to get on this program. And she was our health coach. I'm so thankful for her introducing it to us. We actually watched her, Joelle, melt away over a period of 6 months. She lost 55 pounds, and she was so inspiring. And I kept saying to Andy, I was like, oh my God, what is Joelle doing? I want this. And of course, then the catalyst of all catalysts happened, and COVID was here. And, who knew we were going to be in a worldwide pandemic? And, I said to Andy, I was like, listen, with or without you, I'm going to do this. But I was still very skeptical and reluctant. So Andy actually signed to be a client with Joelle first, and he had more weight to lose than me. And because I was so skeptical, I wanted him to go first. And in the first week, Andy lost 14 pounds. And, within 2 weeks, I was so convinced. I said, Andy, you should sign on to be a coach, and I'll be your first client. And that's how it worked. And, I knew right away that it was going to work. And no offense, Joelle, but I said, if a 66-year-old woman can do this, so could I. And, I recognized right away for me how important it was going to be, to have the accountability. And, that I wasn't the type of person that was going to be able to do it without that. But we both started losing weight really fast, and it was really exciting. Even Andy's 80-year-old mom signed on with us after she saw all the success that we were having. And between the three of us, in 4.5 months, we've lost 145 pounds. But so much more than that, more than what we've lost, what we gained was freedom from our medications. We were no longer on the insulin or the metformin or the high blood pressure medication. We have so much more energy, much more pride, more confidence, more agility. Too many NSVs, and for those who are new, that's actually a non-scale victory to count. We can walk without pain, touch my toes. I mean, heck, I can even see my toes for the first time in a very long time. And overall, we're just feeling so much better and so much hope. Most importantly, I have to say that, is the contentment that we have knowing that we have hope for our future health. And, look, I know there's so much stuff out there that's beyond our control, but I'm so happy that we finally said yes to our health and started controlling what we could. And I'll close by saying that really the moral of my story here tonight, with it being a leap of faith, is that had I not jumped off of that cliff in Jamaica, I might not even be here today. So if you're sitting on the fence or unsure about making a lifestyle change to get healthier, my advice is just to jump in.
Wow. Wow, your story is so incredible and so inspiring. I'm not even gonna try to just comment on it, because I mean it is what it is, and thank you so much for sharing it, and we're just so happy to have you here with us. And then I'll just show you guys again. There's the transformation. There's the 2 healthy guys that he was talking about. So again, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. This was, again, our last one of the season, and thank you so much for sticking with us. Again, if if any of this resonated with you at all, please just reach out to the person that sent you the link to this and invited you to this, and let them know that you want to connect and talk further. Everyone have a great night.